The world seemed normal, at first glance, as Emma walked down the quiet streets of her city, the sun casting long shadows between buildings. Yet something felt different today, as if the air itself was charged with invisible energy. Something whispered to her mind that the life she thought she controlled was not entirely hers, that there were hidden forces guiding her every thought, her every choice. She passed a coffee shop and noticed the barista's smile, and for a moment, she wondered why it felt so familiar, so comforting, as if her brain had already predicted it. But the thought made her pause, for she realized she often acted before she even knew she had chosen, and a chill ran down her spine. Emma didn't know it yet, but she was standing at the edge of a reality most people never notice, a world where the rules she had learned in school, in books, and on screens didn't fully apply. She had always believed she was free to think, free to act, free to choose. But what if freedom was an illusion, crafted not by fate or luck, but by the invisible patterns around her? In a small cafe across the street, a man sipped his coffee and glanced at his phone, unaware that the tiny decisions he made, what app he opened, what news he read, were influenced by millions of unseen factors that shaped his mind without him knowing. Emma thought about her own life, her habits, her reactions, and a question formed like a shadow in her mind. How much of herself was truly her own? And how much was written by the environment, by the people, by the world she walked through every day? As she continued down the street, a pigeon flapped its wings and took off in a sudden burst, startling her, and in that moment, she felt a strange connection to the bird, as if its flight mirrored the unpredictability hidden in her own choices. The world was not as solid and certain as it seemed. It was fluid, uncertain, alive with possibilities that shifted depending on who observed them. Emma's curiosity grew, pulling her deeper into thought. She remembered a story her teacher had told her about the quantum world, a place where particles behaved in strange, impossible ways, where observation itself changed reality, where the act of noticing could alter outcomes in ways that defied logic. Could it be that her own mind, her awareness, was connected to this hidden world, influencing the paths she thought she chose freely? The city around her felt different now, alive with hidden patterns and secret influences. Every sound, every movement, every interaction seemed charged with meaning, as if the universe itself was whispering clues to those who knew how to listen. Emma felt both amazed and unsettled, for she realized that the life she had taken for granted was only a small part of something far bigger, far stranger. And then a thought struck her with sudden clarity, a question that burned in her mind and refused to let go. What if every choice she made, every thought she had, was part of an invisible dance between her consciousness and the world around her? A dance she had never noticed before, a dance that could reveal not only the hidden rules of reality, but also the hidden power within herself. Emma stopped walking and looked around, the ordinary street now transformed into a stage of possibilities. She felt a shiver of excitement mixed with fear, for the answers she sought were not simple, and the journey ahead would challenge everything she believed about freedom, choice, and the self. She took a deep breath, sensing that what she was about to discover could change her understanding of life itself. And in that moment, the city seemed to hold its breath with her, waiting for the first step into a world where consciousness, environment, and reality intertwined in ways both mysterious and breathtaking. Emma stepped into her apartment, the familiar scent of coffee and old books surrounding her, yet her mind was buzzing with questions. She thought about the strange feeling in the streets, the sense that something invisible was guiding not only her steps but her thoughts. She wanted to understand, to see the hidden world that had suddenly made itself known. She opened her laptop and began reading about quantum physics, the science she had always found difficult, but tonight it felt alive, almost magical. She learned that in the quantum world, particles did not behave like tiny balls or grains of sand. They were mysterious, unpredictable, existing in many places at once, until someone looked closely, until someone observed them. Emma imagined a single electron, spinning freely, moving, in ways that defied common sense. Then she learned about the most shocking part. Just by observing it, the electron would change. The act of noticing collapsed its possibilities into a single outcome. She leaned back, astonished, feeling a connection between this strange behavior and her own life. Could it be that attention did more than just notice reality? Could it shape it? The more Emma read, the more she saw the link to her daily life. If tiny particles could respond to awareness, what about thoughts, choices, or decisions? Could her mind, simply by being aware, be influencing her reality? Changing the path she walked in ways too small or subtle to notice, she pictured her habits, the little routines she followed every day, and wondered how much they were influenced by her surroundings, by other people, by forces she could not see. A simple example came to her mind. Two people waiting for a bus, one hurried, impatient, thinking about what they had to do next. The other noticed the sunlight, the smell of the street. A quiet moment of thought. They experienced the same environment, the same world, yet their choices and feelings were completely different. Emma realized that observation, attention, and awareness were like levers in the hidden machinery of life, shifting probabilities, nudging events. She thought about the strange experiments she read about, where particles separated by miles could affect each other instantly, as if connected by invisible threads. Entanglement, scientists called it. A thought appeared in her mind. If particles in the universe were connected, could human consciousness also be linked to something larger, a web of energy and potential that shaped not just electrons, but reality itself? Emma's curiosity deepened, pulling her into wonder. She closed her laptop for a moment and looked around her apartment. The books on the shelves, the sunlight through the window, the faint hum of the city outside. Everything seemed more alive, more charged with possibility. It was as if the ordinary world had revealed a hidden layer, a secret dimension where her attention mattered more than she had ever imagined. And yet, with amazement came a hint of fear, for if observation could shape reality, then every thought, every feeling, every choice could matter far more than she had realized. The world was not fixed, it was fluid, a complex dance between the observer and the observed. Emma felt a sense of both wonder and responsibility, as if she had glimpsed a hidden power inside herself, waiting to be explored. She sat quietly, feeling the weight of possibility, knowing that what she had discovered was only the beginning, that the rules she had believed about life, freedom, and choice were just a surface, and beneath lay a strange, interconnected quantum world, the world where consciousness, observation, and reality met, a world that could reveal the deeper truth of the self. Emma's mind whispered with excitement. What if understanding this hidden layer could change not only her life, but the way she experienced everything around her? The journey into the quantum you had begun, and she could already feel that nothing would ever look the same again. Emma left her apartment and stepped into the busy streets again, but this time, everything felt different, as if the city itself were alive, quietly shaping her thoughts, guiding her choices. She noticed the shops she passed, the colors of the signs, the sound of footsteps echoing against the walls. Each small detail seemed to pull at her mind in ways she had never realized. She thought about her own life, the routines she followed without thinking, the habits that seemed natural, yet were taught, copied, or absorbed from the world around her. Even the words she used, the ideas she believed, were not entirely her own. They were influenced by her family, her friends, her teachers, the books she had read, the endless flow of information she absorbed every day. Emma paused by a park bench and watched a group of children playing, noticing how each one acted differently, even though they shared the same playground. The boy climbing the tree did so with boldness, while another hesitated, afraid of falling. It struck her how environment shaped them so clearly, yet the choice to act or not act was still theirs, a delicate balance between external influence and personal awareness. She remembered reading that even small changes in surroundings could dramatically affect people's thoughts and behaviors. A tiny detail, a picture on the wall, a word overheard in a conversation, the temperature of a room could nudge the mind in subtle, powerful ways. Emma realized that her own mind was like a quantum particle, influenced by countless invisible factors, yet still capable of responding, of changing. As she walked, she saw a man in a suit standing by a coffee cart, checking his phone, oblivious to the pigeons pecking at crumbs at his feet. She thought about how much of his life was shaped by forces he didn't notice, by the city, the culture, the work he had been taught to value, and the routines he had absorbed without thinking. And yet, in a single moment, one thought, one observation, one decision, could change the course of his day, perhaps even his life. Emma's mind spun with questions. What if most of what we think we choose is already influenced, guided, nudged by the world around us? and yet there is still a hidden space where awareness can step in, where consciousness can make a difference. The environment does not control us completely, but it sets the stage, it frames the probabilities, it creates the patterns that we navigate every day. She imagined herself walking through a maze, the walls constantly shifting, unseen hands guiding her path, yet she carried a lantern, her attention, her awareness, lighting the way, allowing her to notice possibilities that others might miss. She realized that understanding the hidden influence of surroundings was the first step to reclaiming some freedom, to seeing the threads of reality and choosing how to move through them. Emma paused at a street corner, looking up at the towering buildings, and felt a quiet awe. The world she thought she knew was not fixed. It was a network of influences, a field of energy shaping thoughts and actions. And she was part of it, both shaped and shaping. She felt a thrill, a mixture of curiosity and determination, knowing that the journey into the quantum self meant noticing these invisible threads, learning to move with them rather than being carried blindly. She took a deep breath, the hum of the city around her suddenly full of meaning. Every sound, every movement, every face was part of a larger pattern, and in that moment, Emma understood that her environment was not just a backdrop to her life, it was a participant, a silent partner in the creation of who she was, and who she could become. Ma walked slowly through the park, the trees swaying gently above her, and a thought stirred in her mind. What if her consciousness was not just observing life, but shaping it? What if awareness itself had power, subtle but real, to influence events, decisions, even outcomes she had once believed were fixed? She remembered the quantum experiments she had read about, where tiny particles changed behavior simply because someone looked at them, and she began to wonder if the smallest parts of reality responded to attention. Could her own thoughts and focus influence the larger patterns around her? Could the act of noticing, of being fully aware, ripple outward into her life in ways invisible but powerful? Emma stopped near a fountain and watched the water, each droplet catching the sunlight, sparkling like stars. She thought about her own mind, how often she acted without noticing, how rarely she paused to truly observe her thoughts and choices. What might happen if she began paying attention, really noticing her patterns, her habits, her environment? Could consciousness itself become a tool to shape the probabilities of her life? A memory came to her of a small habit she had tried to change for years, waking early and writing in her journal. She had failed countless times, blaming laziness or bad timing, but now she realized that the unseen influences of her surroundings, the noise outside, the dim light, the rushing morning routine had quietly nudged her away from success. She smiled, understanding that awareness could act like a lever, lifting her choices from the sway of hidden forces. Emma imagined consciousness as a gentle sculptor, molding the clay of reality with attention and intention. She could not control everything. She knew that, but she could notice, and by noticing, she could shift outcomes. She felt a thrill of possibility. The mind was not a passive observer, it was a participant in the dance of life, interacting with the environment, with others, and even with the unseen quantum threads that connected everything. She thought of the people around her, each moving through their day largely unaware of the invisible influences shaping them. And yet, each of them had moments of awareness, moments when consciousness could act like a subtle hand, nudging reality, choosing differently, making one small shift that could change the course of a day, a week, a life. Emma realized that this power was quiet, almost invisible, but not less real for its subtlety. It was in the pause before a reaction, the decision to notice a thought, the choice to act intentionally rather than Every moment of awareness became a tiny intervention, a subtle shaping of the world she walked through. As she continued her walk, Emma began to experiment, paying attention to small details, noticing how her thoughts moved, how the world seemed to respond in unexpected ways. The birds in the trees seemed brighter, with the sunlight warmer, conversations she overheard more meaningful. It was as if her attention itself had opened a door to a hidden layer of reality, a layer where consciousness and environment co-created experience. She felt a quiet awe and a gentle responsibility, understanding that awareness was not just a tool for curiosity, but a force that could shape her life, and perhaps even the lives of others around her. Emma smiled to herself, feeling the thrill of discovery, the excitement of a mind that could observe, interact, and influence. and in that moment, she knew that the journey had only begun, that understanding the power of consciousness would lead her deeper into the mysteries of self, reality, and the quantum world, a journey where every thought, every observation, every moment of awareness could ripple through life in ways both subtle and extraordinary. Emma walked along a quiet path lined with tall trees, the wind rustling through the leaves as if whispering secrets. Her mind lingered on what she had discovered so far, the hidden patterns of her environment, the subtle power of her awareness, and the strange quantum threads that seemed to connect everything. Yet a deeper question now pressed on her thoughts, one that had no easy answer. She asked herself quietly, am I truly free, or am I guided by invisible forces, by circumstances I cannot control, by the environment that has shaped me since birth? It was unsettling to think that so much of her life might be determined by factors outside her awareness, from childhood experiences to cultural expectations to the tiniest habits she had absorbed without thinking. And yet, she remembered the lessons of quantum physics, the experiments where particles existed in many possibilities at once, and where the act of observation could collapse probabilities into reality if the smallest parts of matter responded to consciousness. Then perhaps the mind itself held a small window of freedom, a space where choice could emerge even within strong constraints. Emma imagined her life as a river, flowing through valleys, shaped by mountains and rocks, the path largely determined by the landscape. Yet within the river, currents could shift, eddies could form, tiny ripples could steer a leaf in new directions. It was a delicate dance between forces outside her control and the small but real influence of her attention and intention. She thought of moments when she had made unexpected choices, times when she had broken a habit or taken a risk, moments when her awareness had nudged her in a direction that seemed impossible just a moment before. Those were the instances where free will had peeked through the patterns, showing that even within structure, spontaneity and choice could emerge. Emma realized that determinism and free will were not opposites but partners in a complex relationship. A world could guide her, shape her, create probabilities, yet within that framework, awareness could intervene, nudging reality toward new possibilities. It was a balance, a tension, a space where consciousness could meet circumstance, where choice could ripple through patterns already in motion. She paused to watch the sunlight filtering through the branches, the shadows dancing on the ground, and felt the wonder of possibility. If she noticed, truly noticed, could she begin to make decisions that were more than reactions to the world around her? Could she step into the hidden space of freedom, however small, and create outcomes that reflected her awareness rather than mere habit? Emma's mind expanded with thought, considering the thousands of decisions humans make every day, many guided by environment, many automatic, yet some a glance, a word, a thought. A small act could shift the course of a moment, a day, or even a life. The tension between determinism and free will was not a prison, she realized, but a landscape of opportunity, a map of probabilities where attention could chart new courses. She felt both awe and responsibility, understanding that the window of free will was fragile, subtle, yet profoundly real. It required noticing, intention, and courage to step beyond the invisible forces shaping her, and in doing so, she could begin to explore the quantum self, the hidden power of consciousness, and the delicate dance of choice within reality. And as she continued walking, Emma felt a quiet excitement, knowing that understanding this balance would lead her to the final discovery, the revelation of the quantum you, a place where environment, consciousness, and choice intertwined in ways both mysterious and breathtaking. Emma stood at the edge of a quiet hill, looking out over the city below, the lights beginning to shimmer as dusk fell. She felt a sense of wonder mixed with understanding, a quiet knowledge that the world she had walked through was far more alive, more mysterious, and more connected than she had ever imagined. She thought back on the journey she had taken over the last few days, the hidden patterns in her environment, the subtle but real power of her awareness, the tension between determinism and free will, and she began to see the full picture, the quantum you, a self shaped by both outside forces and inner consciousness. Emma realized that she was neither completely controlled nor entirely free. She was a participant in a dance between probabilities and choices, between the environment and her awareness, between the unseen quantum threads and the moments of her life. Each action, Each thought, each decision was both shaped and shaping, a ripple in the vast ocean of reality. She thought about her routines, her habits, and the small moments of observation she could now recognize, every pause to notice, every moment of reflection. Every choice to act intentionally became an opportunity to influence the world around her, not with force, but with attention, awareness, and care. Emma felt empowered, knowing that even within limits, small acts of consciousness could shift outcomes in meaningful ways. She pictured her life as a web, every thread connected, sensitive, alive, with some lines influenced by the environment, others by unseen forces, and yet some open, waiting for the gentle touch of awareness to guide them. In that web, she was both participant and observer, shaping reality while being shaped. Learning the subtle art of navigating the probabilities that surrounded her, Emma smiled, thinking of all the people she had passed on the streets, the friends, the strangers, the loved ones, each moving through their own invisible patterns, influenced by countless factors, yet each holding within themselves the possibility to notice, to be aware, to step into the hidden space where consciousness meets reality. The quantum you was not a secret for the few, but a truth for anyone willing to see, to pause, and to observe. She felt the thrill of possibility, a gentle excitement that the ordinary world was full of extraordinary potential. Every conversation, every choice, every act of attention could ripple outward, creating subtle but profound effects. Emma understood that the world was not just something that happened to her, but something she co-created in partnership with her surroundings and her consciousness. As the city lights glimmered below, Emma felt a quiet responsibility and a sense of wonder. She knew that the journey into the quantum you was ongoing, a lifelong path of awareness, observation, and subtle influence, a path where understanding the interplay between environment, consciousness, and free will could unlock hidden potential, reveal deeper truths, and expand the sense of self beyond the ordinary. Emma took a deep breath, feeling connected to the world, to the people, and to the hidden patterns that shaped life. She realized that the quantum you was not a distant concept, but a living reality, a possibility in every moment, and a call to explore, to notice, and to participate fully in the mysterious dance of life. And as she turned to leave the hill, a gentle smile crossed her face, knowing that every step she took, every thought she observed, and every choice she made was part of the invisible, breathtaking, and endlessly fascinating world of the quantum you.